As we reflect on 2019, the year that it was, and look toward to 2020, the new year, we cannot but talk about the turmoil in Hong Kong. Now, many watchers expect a similarly, if not more, chaotic 2020 there to what we saw for more than half of last year. Our Eum Ji-young with a forecast.
Since last year, Hong Kong has been rocked by pro-democracy protests that have captured international attention. It was June 9th when about 1 million Hong Kong citizens took to the streets against a controversial bill proposed by the government of Hong Kong Chief Executive Carrie that would have allowed for criminal suspects to be extradited to mainland China for trial. Tensions peaked in November when police shot a 21-year-old demonstrator and a student died after falling from a parking lot near a protest site. The demonstrators had initially made 5 demands, which included the full withdrawal of the extradition bill, the release of all protesters who had been detained, an investigation into police misconduct during the demonstrations, and free and democratic elections. A 6th demand has been added in the past month, which is for the Hong Kong police to be reformed. An expert in Korea says that although the protesters claim they will not stop until the government meets all of their demands, the most important one is direct elections for both the city's chief executive and its legislative council.
The key demand is direct elections, because the protesters think that it will bring about fundamental improvements in Hong Kong society. The withdrawn extradition bill and what it implied prompted many Hong Kong citizens to consider electing their leader directly.
She adds that the protests will end when Beijing allows universal suffrage in electing Hong Kong's leader and legislature. She also says Beijing is likely to enact a national security law that'll push Hong Kong to crack down on the protesters. Another expert says China will instead take a long-term approach to the situation and maintain the one country, two systems policy.
If the central government tries to suppress protesters with armed force, it could easily become an international human rights issue. And this, in turn, could be used by the U.S. to discredit China.
A professor in Hong Kong says the Chinese government will resist the movement's demands, and so there's very little prospect for any settlement.
We had elections in Hong Kong for district council members, and the pan-democratic forces won big in those elections. And now they're looking forward to elections for the Legislative Council, which is the Parliament of Hong Kong, and those will take place in September. So at the very least, we can expect that demonstrations will continue until then.
The expert adds that the fight will continue indefinitely because 1/3 of the population is more or less okay with the relationship with the mainland, but about 50% of the population is not. Eum Ji-young, Arirang News.